Hey guys, my name's Haley. Welcome back to the Disney Cupcake channel. Today I'm going to be comparing Walt Disney World and Disneyland. I'm going to be sharing some of my tips and experiences that I've had at both parks to help you guys plan which park is best for you for your next Disney trip. So let's get started. I'm going to be doing a series over the next few months with just videos of my ride comparisons. That's going to be a whole series that I'm going to post a few videos every month for each ride, for each park, different things like that. So that series will be coming up very soon. This is just an overall comparison of Walt Disney World and Disneyland in general, overall, not really going into ride depth and stuff like that. So this is the overall comparison. Let's get started. So before I start, one thing that I would like to say is that this is my personal opinion from my experiences from my trip. I grew up going to Disney World, so I am slightly more on the Disney World side, but I really did enjoy Disneyland. Please don't get me wrong with anything. I really had a good experience at both parks. I really like them both. This is just me telling you my overall thoughts on both resorts, just kind of going through the overall park vacation experience. So starting off with atmosphere, Disneyland, it's mainly focused towards locals. It does not really feel like a vacation spot, like a theme park. I personally felt that it was more treated like an amusement park compared to Disney World, where at Disney World it's more focused on visitors, families, international. Like, this is a vacation spot, and you can tell that it is more focused to that. And even the cast members there, the ones at Disneyland, you can tell that they are just people that live around the area. From my personal experience, the general cast members did not really seem too happy with their jobs. It wasn't really that immersive in that way. Where at Disney World, there's people from all over the country, even from international, that truly make it an immersive experience. And we did end up talking to managers and custodial people and DVC people at Disneyland that were fantastic. We talked to many amazing cast members at both parks, but I do feel that the ones at Disneyland were not as nice as at Disney World through my experience. So at different merchandise carts or different quick service locations and stuff like that, the cast members were not as helpful or didn't really know as much as what was going on at Disneyland compared to Disney World. At Disney World, I feel that they're a lot more helpful. I do have an allergy, so at Disneyland, a lot of them, whenever I asked them to see an allergy menu or something, some of them you could tell really didn't care or honestly did not know, where at Disney World they would do anything to find out, to make sure that you were okay with that. In both parks, again, very nice, but Disneyland, I did not feel they were really with the whole immersive experience. They were just there as a local job. So if you are just an average, normal visitor, just going through the park, you're not really interacting with any managers or anything like that, just the people at like the quick service, shops, rides, stuff like that, if you're just interacting with those type of cast members, through my personal experience, I found that the cast members at Disney World are a lot nicer than at Disneyland. And the ones at Disney World, I feel like they make it immersive, they make it a full magical experience that the ones at Disneyland did not really know and weren't really as with it compared to Disney World. And the overall immersive experience at both places, Disney World is its own bubble and Disneyland is in the middle of a city. Very different, but overall I personally like the whole Disney bubble experience. It feels like you're on a vacation. It feels like that you are at Disney the whole time and that you're like away from reality, where at Disneyland you step out of the park and it's back to reality. So I personally like the whole Disney bubble, Disney World experience in the atmosphere way. So the last thing with the atmosphere, this is something that is just out of everyone's control. This is just something I wanted to say. The weather in California was fantastic. In Florida you have the heat, humidity, and rain a lot, where in California you don't really get that at all. So weather-wise in the atmosphere, California was pretty fantastic. So now moving into hotels. For Disneyland, we stayed off property. The hotels at Disneyland are very, very expensive, but they are very, very nice. At Disney World, the hotel price range could accommodate just about everyone. It's in the Disney bubble, which is fantastic. Very, very easy to get to the park through all of their many ways of transportation, like buses, monorails. They're building the gondola system, which will be fantastic. Boats, all of that crazy fun way to get back and forth to the parks. You can experience all the different ways of transportation there. In general, both places, the hotels are fantastic. We checked out the hotels at Disneyland, even though we weren't staying there. They looked wonderful. All of my experiences at the Disney World hotels, amazing. I do feel that the perks at Disney World are a little bit better. Both places you get extra magic hours, but with Disney World you get the magic bands. You get to book your fast passes 60 days out ahead of everybody else through the My Disney experience, which is really, really nice as well. And you are closer to the parks being inside of the Disney bubble, so if you would not stay at a Disney hotel, you'd be a lot farther away, and then you'd have to pay for parking to get there and all of that crazy stuff. With Disneyland, you're walking a lot to your hotel, but the hotels are super, super close, which is really, really nice to not even have to deal with the car at all. So if you are going to Disneyland and you can stay at one of the Disneyland hotels, it is a major plus. You're super close to the parks. You can get there faster. If you want to take a little break from the parks, it's really, really easy to get back to your hotel in a decent amount of time. Disney World, though, price-wise and depending on the size of your family and everything, it can really fit a lot of people's budget that way. So now we're going to move on to ticket costs. Tickets do cost more at Walt Disney World than compared to Disneyland. They're a lot less. But the good thing about them being less is that you can also add the park hopper if you're trying to stick into a budget. At Disneyland, you will for sure use the park hopper. We personally didn't, but that would have been a good decision to use the park hopper. With the parks being so close, it is so easy to go back and forth all day. You can ride all of the different rides, and it is really, really good with their fast pass system there, where at Disney World you can only use your fast passes for one park per day, even if you do have a park hopper. And with the parks there being so big and so spread out, it is a little bit harder to get to each one in a good amount of time. So I'd say the park hopper option is really, really great for Disneyland, and I definitely would get it next time that I go. If you have not been to Disneyland and you do plan on going there, the parks are so close. There's literally a patch of concrete, park entrance and park entrance. You could literally be into the other park within a minute, depending on the ticket lines to get in. It is so insane how close they are, but it is so good if you would like to park hop a lot, or if there's different things you want to do, that you could get both parks done in one day if you've already been there before. If you're trying to figure out which resort to go to, I would say that you could spend about 3 days at Disneyland, 1 day in each park, and then a park hopper for the last day that you could go back and do whatever rides you'd like. But at Disney World, though, they do make it more of a vacation spot. You can spend up to a week there with 5-day park tickets. The days off, they offer mini golf, they have the water parks. You could spend a whole day at Disney Springs. Since its last remodel, you could spend a whole day there, and it is wonderful, and it is free admission into Disney Springs, which is really, really nice. So there are many things to do outside of Walt Disney World without even having to pay park admission, where at Disneyland, all you really have is Downtown Disney, and it's not really that big. You could spend a nice evening there, but you definitely could not spend a whole day there. So now we're going to move into crowds. Crowds are not fun in any way except when they're low. At Disneyland, the parks are very small, but with all of the rides that they have there, in both parks at Disneyland combined and the 4 parks at Walt Disney World combined, there are more rides at Disneyland, which blows my mind. But there are for sure more rides at Disneyland. So at Disneyland, it may seem very crowded, but there are people in lines, on rides, doing all of those things. Where at Disney World, it is very crowded. With the 4 parks and all of the rides split up and there being less rides, you can definitely tell that there are more people at Disney World. And Disneyland, again, with it being so small, it didn't really seem that crowded at all. The rope drops at Disneyland are very, very crazy at California Adventure, but we did go to the opening day of Pixar Pier at Disney's California Adventure and Disneyland, and it was very, very crowded at the beginning, the whole rope drop thing, and once they let us into the pier, but then everyone kind of dispersed onto the rides, or if they were locals, they kind of left, so the crowds just kind of disappeared from California Adventure, because again, with all of the rides, people park hop, people leave, with everyone being locals there. And the one thing I do have to say that was awful at Disneyland, at both parks, was crowd control. Disneyland, they were awful at crowd control. When we were going into Pixar Pier, no one was listening to the cast members. People were running, people were shoving each other. It was awful. I mean, I know it's really, really hard to like not have that happen, but at Disney World, I never have experienced that crazy of a thing happening. I mean, I know we went for opening day, but even the day that we weren't there for opening day, people were insane. People do not listen to cast members, even for parades at Disneyland. There's people like running through. It does not seem that organized in that way with crowd control. Again, at Disney World, you don't really see that happening, and with people doing all of the parades and stuff there, it doesn't really happen. So I'd say crowd control at Disneyland is not the best, because once people realize that there's a parade or show going on, everyone basically gets out of all the ride lines and just piles into like Main Street, and it is just a mess. So I did touch on this earlier about the Disney World Fast Pass system. The Disney World Fast Pass system, you get 3 Fast Passes per day per park, and you can book 60 days out when you stay at a Disney resort hotel, or 30 days out when you are staying off property. And if you go to Disneyland, you can use the paper Fast Pass system, or you can purchase Max Pass through the My Disney Experience app. It is $10 per person per day. We used the Max Pass system. It was amazing. Fast Pass definitely wins for Disneyland, 100%. We were able to get between 8 to 10 Fast Passes per day, which was amazing to skip through lines, and we barely waited for standby at all in Disneyland. So in Disneyland, for $10 per day per person, and that also includes PhotoPass, that is a no-brainer. It is so worth it. Although I do think that Disneyland, they need more PhotoPass photographers out and around. It would definitely kind of encourage more locals to purchase it every once in a while for different pictures, but it was definitely worth the Max Pass and PhotoPass purchase of just $10. We were at the Disneyland Resort for 5 days, and like I said before, we barely waited in standby. The most we waited for an attraction without using the Max Pass was 40 minutes, but that is a great wait time compared to the wait times at Disney World. So now heading into merchandise, one of my favorite things. Merchandise-wise, Disneyland really messed up, in my opinion. When we went to the Pixar Pier opening day, no merchandise for it. They don't really have stuff in stock. There is no Just California Adventure pin. There's many different things they could have merchandise for, and it's like always out of stock. There's not. With this whole Pixar Fest promotion going on over the summer, there wasn't very much Pixar Fest merchandise. I wanted to get one of the Pixar Fest shirts. They didn't have any, and with that whole thing being a whole promotion, I'm surprised they didn't really have that in stock. Where at Disney World, they always have stuff in stock ahead of time for new land openings, for rides, for all of those things. For any of their promotions, they almost have too much merchandise for, and it ends up in the outlet. So I think that they should order a little bit more. And continuing into merchandise with pins, if you were into pin trading, Disneyland pin trading's not that big of a thing. I saw a lot of fake pins floating around. I saw very few cast members with lanyards. Any stores we went into, the pin boards were very small. Disney World, all of the hotels have big pin boards. You see almost every cast member with a pin lanyard on. So I feel that pin-wise, if you're into pin trading, Disney World is definitely better in that way. merchandise wise, I also still feel like Disney World's a little bit better. But one thing I almost kind of liked about merchandise was that in Disneyland, every time you get off a ride, you don't get dumped into a store, where at Disney World, basically every ride that you get off of, you end up in a store, which is kind of annoying at the same time, but like I also kind of like it. So if you don't really want to spend money on merchandise, and if you just keep walking past it at Disney World after every attraction, they kind of suck you into buying it there. So that's just my opinion, but it is very interesting how at Disneyland you don't get dumped into a store very often. Now we're going to go into food, and there are many pluses and minuses to both parks for this one. You always hear that the Disneyland food is fantastic, and a lot of the snack options were very, very good. Quick service, Disneyland for sure definitely won that. All of the sit-down restaurants at Disneyland, there aren't very many of them, and honestly, none of them I could recommend or say that they were really, really good if you're looking for a good sit-down restaurant. At Walt Disney World, there are many, many options. There are a lot of options at Disney Springs compared to Downtown Disney. There are so many different types of food choices at Disney World for sit-down or even for quick service, but I really, really did like the quick service and snacks at Disneyland, but I do feel that Disney World did win with whatever kind of options you want. A lot of the snacks are the same. Both parks now have mobile ordering. I really, really did enjoy mobile ordering at Disneyland. It was very, very helpful. I have not tried it at Disney World yet, but I know it is the same process, and it was very, very good. I definitely recommend using that. And at both places, even if you aren't staying at one of the Disney hotels, you can definitely take a bus or walk over, and they have some great food there. At the Disneyland Hotel, we tried Goofy's Kitchen, which was really, really good. And at Walt Disney World, there are so many different places to eat at every Disney hotel that are fantastic as well. And if you do have an allergy, which I do think that Disneyland was not accommodating to that, really. Like, they weren't very nice about it, or they didn't really, again, know what was allergy friendly, where at Disney World, any place that I have ever eaten there, they really know how to handle it. Now, I'm not saying that every place at Disneyland was not accommodating. Some places were. Goofy's Kitchen, that was an amazing buffet that we had. They were very, very accommodating, very, very nice about it. Again, I'm not saying that there was no place and there is no place. A lot of places were, but it was kind of weird when some places didn't really know, where at Disney World I didn't really have that happen. One of those places that really, really stood out was the Carnation Cafe. A lot of people recommended it. We really wanted to try it, and we actually ate there twice, and both times they were not really accommodating at all. The food options for allergies weren't really that great. If you're going with an allergy, or just in general, I would not recommend Carnation Cafe. Even though there are not a lot of sit-down restaurants at Disneyland, I'm sure there are some that are really, really good. We just didn't get to try them yet. Again, we only ate at 2 sit-down restaurants in Disneyland, which were Carnation Cafe and Goofy's Kitchen, and I definitely liked Goofy's Kitchen. So we also ate at 2 sit-downs in Downtown Disney that were not owned by Disney. One of them being the Jazz Kitchen, which I did not really find accommodating. I did not get anything there because they were kind of iffy about allergy stuff. And at Splitsville, which I ate at Disney Springs, amazing. I would highly, highly recommend Splitsville. It is super fun atmosphere and the food is really good. If you are looking for any food recommendations, sit down or quick service for Walt Disney World, leave a comment down below for which park you're looking for, and I can give you my recommendations there. So this is just a quick little thing I'd like to state about the whole airport experience. When traveling to Disneyland in California through LAX, there wasn't really many signs of Disney, and you had to find your own way of transportation to get to the park, and it costs a lot of money to find any way of transportation, whether you rent your own car and drive there yourself, you rent a bus, or you rent a taxi. It's costly to do that there and back to the airport. Where at Disney World, when flying into the Orlando International Airport, right whenever you walk out from your plane, you see the Disney store and a free Disney shuttle, which is very, very nice. It gets you very excited to go to Disney, and it is free. Traveling wise, the Orlando International Airport definitely gets you excited about your Disney trip. So now looking into shows and entertainment, Disneyland, the entertainment was amazing. The Pixar Fest Together Forever fireworks show was definitely my favorite. It was amazing. All of the parades were really, really fun. Disney World, they have a lot of really, really good shows too, and I have not seen Happily Ever After in person, but the shows win for Disneyland for sure. They're really, really fun, and I really like how they have the parades and stuff there. Disney World, their parades have like disappeared, so Disneyland definitely wins shows for sure. Also, I'd like to say with Disneyland, with it being in a city and not in the Disney bubble, there are not as many fireworks that happen there. And just touching really quick on rides, I'm doing all the separate videos on that for each ride comparison of what I like better about each one and all of that kind of stuff, so make sure to subscribe so you guys do not miss those videos. And the last thing I'm going to touch on for this video, the one thing that really bothered me for the whole plus side to using a Disney hotel or to using a Disney package or staying at a Disney hotel was the magic hours at Disneyland. They weren't really worth it. So this kind of mixes in with the whole crowd control thing. At Disneyland, when you use the extra magic hours, if you're going to try to rope drop Peter Pan, Matterhorn, or Space Mountain, like one of those e-ticket attractions, it is definitely worth it. But if you would like to go ride Indiana Jones, Splash Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Jungle Cruise, all of those kind of things, you have to wait till the park actually opens. When you use the extra magic hours at Disneyland for the Disneyland park, the only sections that are open are Fantasyland and Tomorrowland and of course Main Street. So that's kind of disappointing. And going into the whole crowd control thing, they set up ropes in front of the other lands and you have to wait in line to get into the other lands, which is really, really crazy. Where at Disney World, any of the parks, they will open for the extra magic hour and you can go anywhere in the park for the most part. I know sometimes every once in a while they'll maybe close off a land because they're doing something, but that rarely happens. So magic hour wise, Disney World was better in that way. We did not do extra magic hours in California Adventure, so I'm not really sure how it works there, but at Disneyland it was kind of disappointing that half the park was closed when that was supposed to be a whole plus side to getting into the park early. So putting that into perspective, with only part of the park being open, we wanted to go get on Peter Pan without really having to wait. We were into the park 10 minutes into the extra magic hour and Peter Pan was already at a 45-minute wait. If the whole park was open, that wait may have been like 20 minutes. So it's kind of crazy to think that that extra magic hour really could have helped us in that way, but the park was closed. So lastly, looking into the future of both US parks, Disney World's future does look a lot brighter than Disneyland. I know Disneyland doesn't really have much space left and there's nothing they can do about that, but Disney World, they're really doing a lot to it here in the future. Disney World is getting Galaxy's Edge, Tron, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction, the Ratatouille attraction, many new hotels and hotel additions, and they're getting also a lot more restaurants. Where at Disneyland, they are also getting Galaxy's Edge. They're taking out a land just to put in another one, being Marvel Land, and who knows how many rides will be there. And they're also getting one new hotel, and they're taking out some of Downtown Disney. So overall, Disney World's future does look a lot brighter for many new experiences to come and many reasons to keep going back. And with Disneyland taking out some of the restaurants to add in the new hotel, there will be less restaurant options there. And within the next 3 years, Disney World could have more rides than Disneyland, and they definitely have the space for it. So in conclusion, both resorts are amazing Disney experiences, but it just depends on what you would like to do and how much you want to spend, how much time you want to be there. It all just depends on what you like and what works for you. If you'd like to spend a full week vacation, Disney World is the perfect spot. If you'd like to go somewhere fun for a weekend or for like half a week, just like a short little but really, really fun magical trip, Disneyland would work best for you. It really just depends on what you like and what you prefer. they are great Disney parks. So I am pretty attached to Disney World in Florida. Growing up going there for my vacations, that is just something that I enjoy. That's something that works for me, that I like the whole week Disney experience, and it's just what works for you. This is just my personal opinion. This is off of my experiences. This is just what I prefer, what I like, but Disneyland was really, really fun. I really, really enjoy both parks, but I do personally feel that Disney World is a little bit better for me. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, which park you may prefer better, or which park you'd like to go to in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to stay tuned for all of the upcoming Disney park comparison videos. Like I said, I'm going to be scattering those throughout the next few months, so make sure you guys do not miss them. And remember to do what you love and do what makes you happy, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!